Welcome. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Welcome back. It's so great to be with all of you today, listeners, and my special guest who I've known for a while, and I'm just pleased to spend some time with her today. And like always, I'd like to invite anyone listening to grab a cup of tea or something cool to drink. Find a seat and settle down if you're not driving. And to allow our conversation to wash over you. Anything that feels relevant or that needs to land will find its way. And anything else will be there for you to go and take another bite of later. If there's some part of this meal that you'd like to return to. So that's my invitation to listen with the whole body. And we'll go ahead and get started today. So I'm going to start by introducing my guest. Today I am sitting here with beautiful Leah Dawang. She is an SEP, an RLT, and an SSP provider. She's also a relationship restoration guide, guiding both couples and individuals in clearing the way so they may receive love and connect with themselves, others, nature, and spirit. Through her practice, Clear the Way, Leah offers a tapestry of healing and transformation woven from neurobiology, somatics, attachment, nature-guided living, sound healing, parts work, and mysticism. She's committed to actively participating in clearing the way individually, intergenerationally, and collectively with the stubborn hope that we may all receive love in a way that we are designed to be. So welcome, Leah. Welcome, Leah.
I'm really glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. I should say a couple things first before we start. Leah and I have known each other. We were just chatting offline before the recording. We've known each other since 2021. And came across each other through both of our shared work in using sound-based tools for healing. We also have an affinity for somatic experiencing in that world. And so we had a natural affinity, I think, from the beginning, and just found it very easy to work together and do projects together and share this journey. And we've both been on a very different journey, but similar, and we tend to, talk once in a while and catch up, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the podcast, because you're at another place in your journey, and it felt like a good time to bring you on and talk about what that journey has been like. So I'd like to start by asking you a little about that, and if you'd share a little bit about yourself and your journey. We know some of the pieces, but I'd love to hear it from you in a more robust way, if you want to start there.
Yeah. Thanks for the invitation. How I ended up sitting in the seat. How did I get here? Go back just a wee bit in that my whole sort of childhood and up my generational lines, there's lots of trauma. And I lived the first bit of my life up until I was maybe late teenager, early 20-year-old, without the language to describe what I was experiencing. But I had all kinds of challenges. In past experiences of mine, I've been through an IOP program. I have done the alphabet soup of therapy. I know all the letters. And the experiences that I had in those contexts were like creating a box that I just put all my stuff in, and then I had to carry that box with me everywhere I went. And it wasn't until I actually quit my job when I was a 20-something-year-old, and I went traveling around the world, and even still, all those things followed me. And I was on a bus in Cambodia, where I had been doing sort of a self-development travel thing that I was doing. And so I'd been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of reflecting. And to give really like specific, like I was having perseverating, repetitive thoughts, all that were incredibly harsh, hundreds a day. I mean, it was very, 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 very stuck. And I was on a bus and was journaling, and I was connecting with love through this journal. And I asked the question, could you help me? Because I feel really stuck. And I heard, yeah, let's start from the beginning. I was like, okay, when? And I heard 3rd grade. And I got led through over 100 memories. I have them all written down, where it was this process of experiencing this memory and then having love bring me to a different position within the memory and seeing it in a whole new light. And it was this moment of, oh my. And so all this is happening and I don't really know what's going on. I'm just like following, and and I get off this bus and there's this gigantic full-length mirror in this hotel that we were staying in. And part of my history is an eating disorder, which is where a lot of those perseverating thoughts were coming from. And I looked in this full-length mirror, and for the first time, my mind was silent. And it was just quiet. And I was dumbfounded. I thought, if this is available, if this can happen, I want more of it, and I want everyone else to have it. So that's just really this trajectory, like turning point for me, Paula. And like, there was this, and then there was this new path. And so I started walking down this new path, and it was not just like hunky dory. I mean, it really set me down. I want to know things about this. I started learning for my own well-being, learning all different ways of knowing around healing. And that led me to sound healing and others. And ultimately, I landed on this paradigm of every single person is designed to receive love. Full stop. No exceptions. No prerequisites. And if your life does not look like the character of love, there's a reason. And there's actual things that we can do about it. And so that's where Clear the Way comes from. So that like, oh, you're designed to receive love. And how might we dissolve the blocks that keep you from that which you're naturally designed to do, which will not only change you, but change the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. I remember you mentioning a bus ride, but this is the story behind it, right? Your life changed. In that moment, did you feel like you were in the middle of a mystical experience of some kind, or how did you make sense of it?
Yes and no. I've had mystical experiences where I've been like, I don't know what the word would be, transported, where it's like I'm suddenly in a different place, and it's not scary and it's not bad, and I'm still very connected to my body, but I'm like traveling. This was not that. This was, I was very much on a bus. I was on a bus, but it was like this moment, and I really believe this is part of the overarching, I don't know, cosmic journey, like intending to be in communion with love or intending to be connected, like that 1% of intention, in my view, love, who is a being, is like already there waiting, like, oh, I'm right here. Oh, we just got chilled. Oh, I'm right here. And so that was the sort of, I opened up my heart, and love was like, hey, hi. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, the word that kept popping in for me that I use a lot, because we all have different words, is a frequency, right? The frequency is right there. And then this piece that you mentioned at the end, which is the heart opening. And I do think that a lot of us, that's the journey we're on, both for ourselves simultaneously and to bring our clients. And so as that transformed you, then it led you to then do what?
Well, so this thing wrapped up and I was just sort of left with questions. And I say this thing, that travel thing that I was describing. And then I went from there, went into another sort of developmental, it was 9 months. It was literally like a womb, sort of leadership thing that was really focused on, in my experience of it, dismantling, in a very safe way, meaning that it was very wombish, like it was so safe, dismantling all of these things in my mind. I grew up quite religious, and there were like these things that you had to believe. And it was a really beautiful time to dismantle some of those. And what I was left with was, oh no, it's like all love. It's all about love. It's just love. Like, I'm getting a chuckle because I remember this phrase over and over and over. Love is the point. And even in that context, I remember Paula very specifically. It was quite a bent towards spirituality in this place. So they were not informed about all these other perspectives or ways of knowing. And I was having a panic attack. If you've ever had a panic attack, friends, feels like you're going to die. And I was in that, and one of the leaders came up to me and said, Leah, what are you sensing? Just like a very normal thing for that realm. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. And then he said, take authority, Leah. And he walked away. And I was just stuck in this moment of disorder. And what I'm trying to get at is that I had this transformational experience and I was still on my journey. And so, from that place, I was like, the spirituality isn't the only thing that we need to be paying attention to. It's one of the really important things. But what I didn't know was my physical body needed love and support too. And so that's sort of this shift into when I found sound, when I found all these ways of relating to your body and to come back into your body and then to be through your body and then into the earth. Like, that's when I found this part, not just this part up here.
Yeah. So you're really speaking into the, there's some paths and passages or things people are engaged in where it only may attend to one aspect of the full journey of healing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, that sounds really uncomfortable that you had to figure out for yourself that there was some pieces missing in the program. Is that what drew you then to go find out, well, what is this body piece?
Yeah. Thanks for digging into that. It's so interesting. I had all this, and part of what was spurring all of that sort of upheaval and the disorder that I was experiencing in those moments was, I was dating this man who's now my husband. And, in that sort of experience, this relational stimuli, my entire system was disrupted. I had part of my adaptions and these parts of me that I just love and adore now. I have deep relationship with them. They serial dated back in the day. So I would just date everybody. I would just date a lot of people and could never see myself with them. It was like a very, very strategic adaption that I had. And I started dating this guy and I could actually like see myself with him, and I got freaked out. And from that place, that's when I started going, well, I know that I've had this healing experience over here, the one on the bus. And that sort of shotgunned me, like, I don't know, thrusted me into, I know that this is possible and I'm having all of this stuff. And that's where it is. I fully bought into and still do that what I said about love, that we're all designed to receive love. We were born to be loved, and my life looked like this. It felt like this. It didn't feel like this thing that I believed and said, oh no, this is true. And that mismatch with the relational trauma and this, that, and the third, that mismatch. And I said, I have to figure that out. And that's really what pushed me into learning about sound and everything else, was the mismatch between I'm born to be loved and my life doesn't look like that.
Yeah. And I wonder how many feel that mismatch, even in today's world where there's a lot of information out there and a lot of folks looking like they're following a path by following, the jargon. What I find, and you can answer this too, is once you put the sound, it gets really real. Whether that is like you even, because that's what happened to me, it's like I thought I was present. I thought I was regulated. I thought I was showing up in my own consciousness in a place of openness and connection until I put the sound on, and it brought truth to that. Right. So that for you kind of drew you in to learning more. And then what evolved after that?
I'm glad that you referenced sound. So I'd learned about this, the Safe and Sound protocol. I learned about this way of using sound, and it was like, oh, I want to try it. And it just made sense to me. Like I learned it from this level, and was able to very, very quickly distill it into like a short sentence that said, oh, this is what this does. I want to try it. And I will never forget this. Going through it, and I listened to it with my boyfriend. His name is Nathan. He was my boyfriend at the time. He's now my husband. I was listening to it, and he was like meant to be my co-regulating other. And which is funny, right? Because he was also the source of my perceived neuroceptive threat. It's also the source of my threat. And so I'm listening to it with him, and I'm going through hours, and it's all fine. Like I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like listening to the music. I haven't thought about this memory in a long time. And I'm about halfway through this sort of journey, and I'm listening, and we actually decided to play chess, which is funny. And so we're playing, and I'm listening, and all of a sudden, Paula, I have this moment where I sort of looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I think I need a pause." And he was like, "Okay." And this man he is so safe and so kind. And I paused, and he said, what do you want from me? What do you need from me? And I said, well, maybe if you could just like come behind me and like hold me. And we laid down just on the floor of this basement that we were in, and we laid down, and there was a rumbling so deep inside my body. And it was asking, like, can I come up? And I remember so in my mind saying, okay, like I'm ready. And I wept in a way that I hadn't wept ever. And it wasn't the weeping that did it. It was the weeping held by this person who was so kind, that my body alchemized, like that wild experience of feeling so vulnerable, so safe, and letting the pain come up all at the same time. It changed my life. A week later, that man asked me to marry him. And I don't know if I could have said yes before that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. Yeah. Thank you for taking that journey back into that memory. Really speaking into the power of when I talk about it, I talk more so about this concept of yielding, right? Yielding into support. But so many of us, like what you're describing, don't have that template, right? That sense that somebody's got our back, so that whatever's down there could come up. And that's such a beautiful story.
Could I just lean into that a bit? And that I had different practitioners and people who are incredibly wise always sort of reference that, and not in the same language that you have, but just naming the universalness of like what you and your wisdom hold. And that people are like, if you just learn how to lean back. There was a song that was called, it was not Lean Back like the rap song, it was a different one called Lean Back. And the lyrics are like, lean back in the loving arms, and everything in my whole being was always forward. And so that moment, that just like you're saying, like what it actually means to trust that something has your back.
Yeah. That's something we can rest into and feel a sense of support and belonging, right, with another. So powerful, so powerful. And I love that you're describing it. I work with it the best I can in the group setting where people are working with pillows and, their own couch. And, we recreate that, right, without a person. But you're talking about it in the context of relationship, which is the work you do now. You do couples work, right? So can you share a little about how that feeds in then to the work that you do now?
Yeah. Well, I definitely, like with the couples, sort of one slice of the overall pie. The thing that I feel so clear on is that when you are blocked from love is the manifestation. I mean, relationship is the manifestation of love. Like, love exists as the coherence among all things. She is vitality itself. And relationship is this manifestation of her. And when you're blocked from love, you're also blocked from relationship. And not that the relationships just cease to exist, but that the hue of them becomes life draining. So often folks that maybe are blocked and have whatever leftover trauma, gunk in there, it shows up in their relationships, and not just relationships with people, relationship with themselves, relationship with nature. I believe that the desecration of nature is a symptom of being blocked from love, and blocked from experiencing the communion of the sort of spiritual big trust. Like, not being able to lean back is, in my mind and the way that my being orients around it, like a symptom of, oh, you don't know love is back there. Like, she has you.
I love that. I love that. So I love how you just spoke into this space about the interconnectedness between everything, between your own sense of safety, and then how that plays out in our relational strategies. And I like to think of it as we have our relationships. We're in our strategies when we're in our relationships. So we're not actually in true relationship. We're in a relationship that is based on our strategies, right? So much of, as that unpacking happens and as we come into more safe relational connection and allow that compassion, love, acceptance, kindness, all that to come in, we don't need the strategies anymore, right? So those defenses start to soften, and then there's more life force available for other things, right? And available to think about nature and the natural world and our relationship to the ecosystem and our communities or our service to the planet. But when we're in those survival strategies, we don't have time for any of that. We're not oriented, right?
And maybe it's not even in time, and how we orient it to it in like a pragmatic sense. But my sense is, and just from my own journey, what I notice in others is that it's not even, we don't know we're missing it. We don't know we're missing it. We don't even know, like, I think I'm pulling in sort of psychedelics here, like the experience that someone might go through when they emerge from an ego death and come out into this like whoa plane and start to feel, not hear like your connections with all things, including nature. So it's grounding down and it's going up. We don't even know that exists when we're in the stuck block strategy place. So it's almost like a rediscovery, a remembering of, whoa, I'm connected to everything.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I wonder if that fuels the resurgence or renaissance of psychedelic assisted practices and ceremonies that at this time in the world, people are craving. They know something's missing, right? Or they're just desperate in their suffering that they are open to anything but what they've been given as, which is another cognitive strategy or, something that feeds the mind rather than soul.
Or even requires something from them. Oh, you have to like do this thing or you have to do this thing. I think what you're saying is so profound in that like, maybe it's not doing the next thing. Maybe it's actually yielding a little bit and seeing what happens. And I feel like that culturally, right? Like well, you didn't do this enough, or you didn't do this enough, or you didn't do this enough, and you need to do this next thing. And it's to yield and soften in a way. If you don't have safety, of course you're not doing that. Of course you're not softening. Yeah.
Makes sense. So do you use sound in your couples work? Do you do that together, or are those two separate things? How does it look to work with you now?
Yeah, I work with individuals and couples on journeying that can include sound or not. And with couples and sound, it's fascinating. It's really interesting. I've actually done it with my husband, and our guide took screenshots. We were all online, took screenshots of the start to the end, and then put all those screenshots together. And we didn't know that she was doing that. And the experience, and I've seen this in my couples too, we were literally sitting on opposite sides of the couch, facing kind of away from each other, because we were both drawing, so we were both sort of away from each other. And you go through this progression, and we do this. We start doing this. And then I'm not kidding, at the end of it, I'm like leaning and like looking at him, and he's looking at me, and our bodies are soft, and there's a whole lot of felt, So yeah, in couples work, it can be incredible, but maybe even more than, like, if we were to augment on that or expand that view, I mean, that's exactly what it's doing as an individual with all the connection around this person. So it doesn't just show up in the couple, it shows up in the way that you relate to yourself. the way that you're relating to others, the way that you're relating to the world. So this happens whether you're in a couple pairing or not.
Yeah, I almost thought it made me think about the baby in the crib and the turning towards relational connection. Yeah, when they know it's there and available, right? So, and I do think I love that you combine it with couples work, because you're working with the attachment system with the couples work, and then you're lubricating that system with the sound. So it just sounds so yummy, and a way to support the process and, flowing quite nicely. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Paula, you said something earlier and I got an image. Could I take us back like half a scotch? You talked about sort of like this theme or what's happening collectively, and some folks either becoming so tired of the pain that they're in, like the pain becomes unbearable. And I got this image as you were saying that, where the amount of sheer disorder that we are all in collectively, and it is showing up in individuals' lives for sure. This, this infinity sign, it's individual and it's collective, and it's doing this. I feel like when we awaken to our pain, when it gets maybe just bad enough, or that threshold of pain, and we see like, oh man, so often we try to scramble out of it. Like, how do I get out of this pain? How do I get out of here as soon as possible? And I know, because I do that. And I feel like part of what will move us collectively and individually is that if we don't do that. And I can just feel the gravity of that sentence, because what it's meaning, it's like, what if we have to sit in it? And this is where we have to have safety, because on the other side, I feel like what we're doing is, oh, there's pain there. Let's like dive into it and create more chaos and more. And I wonder if we were to do it differently and like be with the pain and allow it to transform us. And that we might move through a phoenix moment.
We will. You're right.
Yep.
We will. And the name Francis Weller came up for me. He speaks a lot about it. And certain communities, or those of us that are creating communities that, serve like a holding container, right, for that bigger collective pain. As well as what you're doing with the couples in the smaller containers. So whether people do it in the smaller container, the container of a one-on-one, the container of the coupleship, or the community container, it made me think about, how do we develop more of these containers so that there's a holding space to help those folks that come be able to tap into and feel the pain and transform it through staying in the body with it. And so we need the places, and that has been part of our work together too, is getting people trained up so that they are places and spaces, right, for them to do that.
Yeah. And that's really where I feel like I'm headed now, in that it was like 15 years so far of my own journey and my own being, and what does it mean to clear the way in my own self. I mean, it's all of this is just like out of my own experience. And the thing that I feel like clear on is that there are all these different ways of knowing, and you can like, I don't know, depending on what path you take, or you get siloed experiences of it, kind of like I was saying at that, like the spiritual path, like I was going down that, but I was missing all of this other stuff. And where I really hope to go and is to say, okay, if there's this pattern of transformation that goes from order, disorder, reorder, order, disorder, reorder, and we see it on a microscopic and macrocosmic pattern, and there are these real mechanisms of change that include the body, and the nervous system and all these other ways of knowing. I want to get that knowledge in a really succinct way, integrated, holistic, and usable. I want it to be useful. And then how can we equip people so that they can reclaim their own sovereignty and agency in their own life, and they can be involved in community, and involved in like being with a guide, but that the knowledge isn't locked away somewhere. But I really want regular everyday humans to have the knowledge and what they need to clear the way in their own lives so that they can receive love.
I agree. I met somebody last week who wasn't a clinical therapist and said, thank God you're bringing this to, out beyond the clinical world. Because I think, what you're talking about, that is we bring this to the everyday person, they can then ripple it into their families or any aspect of their life, and without it having to be something that you have to go to a clinical practice to get and pay for. So I hope as well the opportunities for that start to open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's theirs already. Like, I think that too, right? I mean, when I work with clients, or if someone takes my, this course that I developed, like, the thing that I would want them to know most, it's already inside of you. It's already inside of you. Like, we're just clearing the path so that you can go back home. We're just having you remember who you are. And there are lots of reasons why we forget. And there are lots of, how do I say this? Like, in my mind, institutions of power that want you to never remember. And I think there's a real, a real wonderful rebellion in slowing down and saying, oh wait, love is inside here. She's in you and she's beyond you. And how can we create the conditions so that you can remember who you are?
I love it. I love it. Well, Leah, we will end with that. Where can people find you and this new course? And what is the course called? I'm so excited to hear about it.
I feel like I'm living my dream. So my website is clearthewayforlove.com. And this course is called Foundations of Clearing the Way for Love. It's aiming to bring someone through who is love, who are you, what blocks love, and then how do you actually clear the way? What does that mean? And then moving into embodying love and living relationally. You can find more information.
Amazing. Yeah, it sounds amazing. It's going to be a gift. Is there anything else, Leah, that feels important for you today?
Yeah, Paula, I want to just publicly thank you. I think I know that your work is doing something so important in the world. And when I take in even 1.1% of the news, and feel that pain, I truly reorient to guides that are like, oh, this is the path. This is the path. Let's go this way. And I've done an individual sound experience with you. I've been in one of your groups, And it's the people who are like holding the lanterns in all of the darkness, that I orient to and say, wait, there's a lantern, like, let's keep going. And the stubborn hope, like the light of stubborn hope that says, yes, things are really, really hard. That's not true. That is true. And there's still hope. And you carry that. So I just want to thank you for the work that you do.
Well, thank you for being a part of it as well and staying here to do it with us. And I hope this podcast goes out to those who are also digging their feet in the dirt and, looking for those things that Leah and I and our community are cultivating to make your work easier, make this path easier in a way, right? Especially if you are a way shower or someone out there doing the heavy lifting. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and your journey is inspiring. I hope that people can find you and work with you, and that couples who listen to this can reach out to you for some of that wonderful, integrative, I think, work that you're doing. So we'll end the podcast here, thanking you, Leah, for your time, and the listeners for spending another hour with Transformative Harmonics. I hope that anything that I said today that felt resonant, you get to take home, and anything Leah shared, and that you'll come back and listen again and use this episode as a resource.